Good morning, everybody. We are live. We are talking about autism today. If you are here, you are in the right place. If you have any interest in learning about autism, if you are a parent of a child with autism, if you believe your child may be autistic, if you believe you may be autistic, or if you are autistic, this is the place for you. Maybe you're a professional working in the field that you just want to connect and learn. This is the place for you. My name is Kylan. I go live on a daily basis. I'm an autism parent. I am also a board-certified behavior analyst. I've been working with people who are autistic since 2013. And currently, I run a company that provides services to people with autism. So we go live, and we are here to advocate. We are here to support each other. We are here to dispel misinformation about autism. And so please come on in and start asking your questions. The chat does start getting pretty crazy here in a few minutes. So put your questions in now if you want to make sure that I have a chance to answer them. Thank you all for being here. It's an exciting day, exciting stuff happening. I will go through that more of some exciting stuff to announce. But I'll wait until we have a few more people on here. Please be tapping on that screen. We are just barely getting started. We have another hour and a half or more on this live. So go ahead and come on in. What questions do we have about autism today? I'll share a little bit about something that, hello, Helen, good to see you. So yesterday, oh my goodness, yesterday, we were able to do I should say my wife put on a Easter celebration for kids with autism. It was a sensory-friendly Easter egg hunt. Now, what made it sensory-friendly? Well, let me tell you what it was like. So we go in there, and usually an Easter egg hunt, you have all the kids all at once going in and hunting for Easter eggs. What we did instead was we had one family at a time scheduled to be there. This was totally free, by the way. And then that family would be able to go and hunt the eggs on their own. It would just take maybe 10 minutes. And every 10 minutes, we had different families coming in, and we could reset the eggs. And so we made it sensory friendly. It wasn't a competition with other little kids. It was just focused on that family one at a time. And it was such a good experience. My kid loved it. We had the Easter bunny there. My kid cried the whole way home saying bunny because he didn't want to leave. So it was a lot of fun. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and answer some questions. How do I go about helping my child to stop hitting herself? That is a really good question. A lot of times we talk about stimming, and we talk about the positive sides of stimming. This is, flapping your hands to regulate your nervous system. But what gets missed quite often is, what do we do when the stimming is actually harmful? What do we do when they are doing things that do cause themselves pain or pain to others? Well, at that point, it is something that we need to address. And so now that doesn't mean that whenever you're trying to get someone to stop a behavior, the tip that I have for you, because I don't know your child, I'll just teach you a general rule to be thinking about with your child, is the general rule is you do not just make a behavior stop, you replace a behavior so they can still get what they want, but in a more appropriate way. So if they are causing themselves pain, and they're doing it to meet sensory needs, well, what behavior could you replace with it to meet those same sensory needs? You may need to meet with a behavior analyst or an occupational therapist to further discuss that. All right, everybody, come on in. Let's go ahead and tell me. I want to get to know you all. Where are y'all from? I'll introduce myself if you all introduce yourselves. What state are you guys in, or what country? Let's see where we're at today. I live in Utah. And a little bit about myself while you're all introducing yourselves. Tell us where you're from. Florida, that's amazing. Puerto Rico, love it. Minnesota, West Virginia, Michigan, love it. Okay, so I am in Utah. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. I'm also a parent of 2 children diagnosed with autism. I have a master's degree in autism studies, and I'm the CEO of a company that serves people with autism throughout the state of Utah. And so autism is my life. Okay, I think you see me on TikTok and you think, oh, like for a couple hours a day, he talks about autism. No, like I dream about autism every moment I'm awake. I'm learning about and supporting people with autism, whether it's my own children, other people that I help, or perhaps I'm advocating. It is 24/7. And I know I'm not the only one here. If you're a parent of a child with autism, or if you are autistic, that may sound familiar to you, that it's quickly become a huge part of your life. A little bit about what I'm doing here on this TikTok is I do go live on a daily basis, you guys. I go live for about 2 hours a day. If it still says follow there, it means you're going to miss me next time that I go live unless you tap that button. So please do. And let's go ahead and answer some more questions. I think I'm autistic, however, I have ADHD, and I know a lot of the symptoms are similar. Okay, a lot of the symptoms can appear similar, but they're actually very different diagnoses. A lot of people think ADHD and autism are on one big spectrum, and they're not. They're not on one big spectrum. ADHD and autism kind of are opposite. Now, before 2013, you could only be diagnosed with autism and not both autism and ADHD. They said ADHD was explained by your autism. And further research shows that they are completely separate diagnoses, and oftentimes they are conflicting with each other. It is very challenging and brutal for people who were both ADHD and autistic. And the reason for that is autism craves routine. It craves rigidness and calmness to meet their sensory needs. ADHD craves uniqueness and novelty, and those things conflict with each other quite often. It makes it so no matter what you decide to do, whatever you do or don't do, you're dysregulated. So for those who are just joining and learning about this, you'll probably hear about ADHD, AUDHD. You should know that is not an official diagnosis, yet it's how we phrase two very real diagnoses when they're both diagnosed at the same time. So ADHD refers to autism and ADHD if you're diagnosed with both. If you are diagnosed with both, or if your child is diagnosed with both, put it in the chat. Put ADHD in the chat. Let's see how common this is. If we have people in this chat who are either their children are diagnosed ADHD or you are, put it in the chat. ADHD. This is very common. You should know and be aware that about 50% of people who are autistic also are diagnosed with ADHD. About 10% of people who are diagnosed with ADHD are also diagnosed autistic. So those are very common comorbid diagnoses. Okay, yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for being here. It's good to see you all. I do go through autism news of the day as soon as we get to 20,000 likes, okay? So go ahead and be tapping on that screen. Let's get to 20,000 likes, and as soon as we do, we will go through the autism news of the day, and I'll keep answering questions. What are your thoughts on the Telepathy Tapes podcast? I am very concerned about the Telepathy Tapes podcast. First of all, spelling to communicate has been debunked multiple times. If someone is requiring prompting and someone interpreting their spelling, I worry about who is actually authoring that language. And to date, they have not been able to demonstrate authorship. And whenever you question it, they get defensive of, you cannot question someone's true form of communication. Like, no, what we're contesting is that they're not communicating, that you are stealing their voice. So absolutely, you need to prove that you are not stealing their voice. Who is authoring this? So that's my biggest concern with telepathy tapes. The other is that, yeah, it's this attitude of like, I always knew that my child wasn't just nonverbal, but he actually was he was a valuable person with knowledge and intellect. And it implies that for a person to be valued, for a person to be loved, oh, sweet Lily Moon, thank you so much, that they need to have a strong form of communication. And I strongly disagree with that. We want them to communicate not because it makes us see them better, but because it gives them more access to reinforcement and joy and happiness. Thank you, Sandra, for the melon juice. I appreciate that. So that's my concern with it. If your child is not able to vocally communicate, even if they don't read minds, and even if they don't spell, they are still valuable. They're still incredible. They're still special, all deserving of love, acceptance, and support. Okay, so I've been diagnosed with ADHD and I know the process for that, but what is the process for autism? Okay, how do you actually get diagnosed with autism? I'm going to give two different scenarios just for the bulk of people that are in here of how to go about getting an autism diagnosis. So whether you are looking for yourself, okay, or for your child, let me go through both of these. For yourself, what I want you to do first, if you suspect you may be autistic, it starts with a screener tool. You need to go through an autism screener. Now, the good thing is these are free online, and they can indicate whether it's clinically significant for you to go on and get a diagnosis or an evaluation. And so one of the leading validated measurements for this is the RADS, RAADS. It is free online. You can do the RADS-R, which is 80 questions. Wow, sweet Lily Moon. You are going crazy today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. I really do. Thank you. Thank you. The RADS R is 80 questions. It may take you 20 minutes to do if you're thinking through all the questions. The RADS 14 is a little bit quicker if you're just wanting to get some knowledge on it. That one is actually linked in my bio if you want to look at it. The RADS 14. And that'll tell you if you should consider looking into an autism diagnosis for yourself. Now, what if it's for your child? What do you do? Well, if you suspect your child may be autistic, what I want you to do is take the MChat if they're young. The MChat is an autism screener, also linked to my bio. It's totally free. You can find it lots of places online if you just want to search it. And the MChat will also give you a score on if you are high risk, moderate risk, or low risk for autism. And then after you have that screener, it will tell you if you're high risk, you should call a psychologist and get scheduled. Keep in mind, for ADHD, a pediatrician is often going to diagnose ADHD, a therapist perhaps. But for autism, it needs to be a psychologist trained in the ADOS is usually the tool that they use to diagnose autism. So, all right, you guys, let's go ahead and continue to answer some questions. What are your thoughts on ABA? So I am a board-certified behavior analyst. For those of you just coming in, I'm a BCBA. I'm also an autism dad. I got 2 kids diagnosed with autism. I also run a company that provides autism supports people with autism. So I am a fan of ABA therapy. I don't discredit anyone's concerns, though, especially those who are autistic adults who went through abusive ABA. We cannot dismiss those concerns. We know that ABA is very effective at changing behavior, but the question is, should that behavior actually be changed? And early on, ABA addressed things like masking to make it so people didn't flap their hands. They addressed things like eye contact and compliance. And these are things that didn't have any business to be addressed. Now, we could actually, like ABA actually did change that behavior, but at what cost? Well, it caused PTSD in these people. And so it's totally valid. But ABA today, as long as the goals that we're focusing on improve skills and communication, and this is done in neuro-affirming ways, ABA is incredible and such a good support. Not the only service, but definitely a good support. So I'm a month from 18. Which screening should I take? The RADS. The RADS 14 is what you should take. Want to know what you think when the child gets denied for SSI? Okay. I definitely have some thoughts. So I talk about the autism journey all the time, okay? So we're talking from the first step of building your village, second step, getting your diagnosis, third step of building your care team, fourth step of learning all that you can and advocating, and fifth step of going and planning for the future. Well, we talk about SSI and applying for benefits under this fifth part. And you don't need to be worrying about that until your child is getting the therapy that they need. But you know what? If your child is an adult and they need Social Security benefits, you're going to need to look at what the requirements are. One thing I want to recommend is one of the most common reasons for the denial is assets being over $2,000 for that person. If that is your case, you need to look into an ABLE account. An ABLE account shelters that money in a very legal way in a disability account that you can spend on any living and care expenses for that person with disabilities, and none of that counts towards the assets for SSI. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on some of these conversations. Someone I know has a child with autism, and mom is oblivious. How do I tell her without hurting her feelings? Well, Spam, let me urge caution here. Sometimes you trying to do that out of love backfires. So please be cautious. How well do you know this person? If it was my sister and her child was autistic, I have such a good relationship with them that I know that I could bring it up in a very caring way. If you don't know them, I want you to be cautious. Keep in mind that doctors do the screenings at 18 months and 24 months. Another thing that you could do that's a little bit more passive is find a video of mine or someone in the autism community and share it with them. And let it just be like, hey, this is a cool video. What do you think? And try to introduce them to the page a little bit. Why are rates increasing in your opinion? All right, you guys. If you think that there's an epidemic of autism, whoa, thank you so much for that hat. That was cool. If you think that we have an epidemic of autism, put epidemic in the chat. Or yes or epidemic. Do we have an epidemic of autism, you guys? Why are rates increasing so much? I saw a video the other day of someone saying, hey, in the year 2000, okay, this was 26 years ago, 1 in 150 people were autistic, diagnosed. This year, 1 in 31 people are autistic. That's almost a 5 times increase. Why? Why is there a 5 times increase in autism over the past 26 years? Well, we do have much of that answered. Let me explain what's going on here. Autism in the year 2000 was only diagnosed for those most profoundly impacted. Now, that's not me being conspiratorial. This is very real. The diagnostic criteria was different before 2013. Okay? And so we are diagnosing, it's not just more awareness, that may be part of it, but it is literally a different diagnosis. There's different diagnostic criteria. That's like saying that we're only diagnosing people with diabetes if they're in a coma. That's what we were doing in the year 2000. And now that we're capturing the entire spectrum, people are saying, whoa, what a huge increase. Well, it's not necessarily an increase. We brought in the net and we're understanding more of what the full spectrum looks like. And so there is no evidence that actual rates of autism are increasing. Awareness is increasing, the net has broadened, and we're screening for it more often. Now, a big part of this is women who are missed. The diagnostic criteria initially really favored men and boys and dismissed how girls showed autism. Now, I could talk about the girls showing autism all day because we don't know if it's biological that girls tend to mask longer, but there are theories and published theories on this that it's not just that they are that girls tend to mask younger just because they're girls in their biology, but there is some evidence to suggest that girls mask earlier and autism is harder to see because of societal pressures on girls versus boys. Now, don't roll your eyes at me just yet. Hear me out here. Boys, we say boys will be boys and then let them go run around, bounce off the walls, climb on things and stim. But the moment a girl starts doing that, we say, stop being weird. Calm down. Act like a lady, right? And that is a very real thing. There are very different societal pressures. And so what ends up happening is the boys, they embrace their stimming. Oh, thank you so much. They embrace their stimming. They are bouncing around. They are more visibly autistic potentially and likely in part due to societal pressures. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and address some other questions. So don't be scared. There is not an epidemic of autism. The diagnosis, the net has broadened, and we are casting that net more often. Okay. Oh, good question. What are some tricks to effectively and efficiently potty train for a 4 to 5-year-old with autism? Okay, Evangeline, let me tell you a little bit about potty training. In the chat, tell me if you're an autism parent, put in the chat yes if your child is potty trained, or no, they are not potty trained. And also put the age that they were potty trained if they are. What age were your children potty trained? Yes or no, were they potty trained? Guys, first of all, I want to tell you autism parents, your value as a parent is in no way correlated with the age at which your child is potty trained. You need to hear that again. Your value and quality as a parent is not indicated by the age at which your child becomes potty trained. Quit being hard on yourself. But if you're ready to potty train, let's do this, okay? But it can be hard. Let me go ahead and break down some tips and tricks. First of all, I want to say, make sure that you have support. Have an occupational therapist or a board-certified behavior analyst work with you on developing a custom plan for your child. But here are some of those basic things that typically are found in those potty training plans that are evidence-based. The first thing is, as soon as we are ready to do daytime potty training, then we are out of diapers, okay? That moment, from that day on, we are out of diapers, and it is going to be underwear from now on. We're not going to do pull-ups during the day. We are going all in. They need to know what it feels like to have an accident. That needs to be uncomfortable for them. And so we are going to go all the way and switch overnight. And again, this is the intensive model, okay? Maybe this isn't what you did, but this is the intensive model. If you're ready to do this over the next week or two, you can make this work. And so you put them in underwear. You have a plan written out, okay? We're not going to go off of feelings. We're going to go off of what we have written down, okay? And what that typically includes is unlimited access to their preferred beverages. If they love chocolate milk, if they love soda, if they love Capri Suns, they're getting all of that as much as they can, okay? Because what we want is as many opportunities to use the toilet as possible. Next, we are going to make the bathroom the funnest place in the house. If they have an iPad, guess what? Their iPad now only belongs in the bathroom. They can watch only if they're sitting on the toilet. Thank you so much, Sandra. I appreciate that. And so if you are, especially this is helpful, if they have to be sitting on the potty and you have a boy and you put the iPad down on the ground, they're going to have to lean over like this and look down, and it's going to point them down, and they don't have to worry about aiming. And so make the bathroom the place to be, and then you implement a sitting schedule. Every 15 minutes, they have to go sit on the potty for 1 to 2 minutes. And then you gradually fade it out as they go without having accidents. So that is very broad. I'm thinking about documenting this exact curriculum so it's easy for you guys to find in an easy way. I don't have that down yet, but those are some general ideas. All right, you guys, I have a big announcement. Can I make an announcement, everybody? Whoa, thank you, Wagner. I love the hat and mustache. I appreciate that. I have an announcement for everybody. If you're new here, I'll do this first. If this is your first time seeing me, put FYP in the chat if I just came across your For You page today. Oh, thanks, Sandra. Thank you. You guys are going crazy with the gifts today. Put FYP in the chat if I just came across your For You page today. Oh, I love that. Thank you all for being here. That's amazing. Make sure you're following. I go live on a daily basis for a couple of hours. I'm an autism dad. I got 2 kids diagnosed with autism. I'm also a board-certified behavior analyst. I've worked with people with autism since 2013, and I'm the CEO of a company that provides autism services in the state of Utah. And I talk about the steps of the autism journey, the parts of this journey. This is from before you even get diagnosed and building your village, all the way up to planning for the future and everything in between. And we break it down into 5 easy parts because autism parents are required to do too much. People put too much pressure on themselves. They're sold scams, things like detox treatments that are expensive ongoing, that are unnecessary, treatments that you don't need, supplements that are taking time and resources away from other things that you need to do. And so I try to keep it simple and make sure everyone knows. And people don't talk about this because it doesn't make money. But I have an announcement that over the past 2 months, I have put together a free, 100% free, 30-page ebook about these steps. It's linked in my bio, 100% free. You can just download it. And so go ahead and download that. It's linked to my bio, and it goes through these 5 steps. The reason I'm doing this is because it's important that on this platform, we talk about autism in this framing of the parts of the journey. It provides clarity, and it helps parents feel like they know what the next step is and the next thing they need to do to support their child, and they're not trying to do a million things at once. So go ahead and check it out. It's linked to my bio. It's the first thing on there. I got a score of 140 on the RADS 14. That's not a proper score. 140, it's up to 42. I think something's off there. Mohammed says, are the people who keep bragging about having autism on the internet actually have it? Mohammed, let me ask you this. What do you mean by bragging? What do you mean by bragging? That is a good question, but I think so. You can't say you're autistic unless you have a diagnosis. So I don't believe in the self-diagnosing. I believe in taking these screeners, which can indicate you may have autism, that you suspect you're autistic, and that's okay to say. But I am opposed to saying you're autistic unless you have an official diagnosis, just because it is very complex to diagnose. And when you go in, you're not going in to get a diagnosis of autism. You're going in for clarity. And yeah, you may suspect it's autism, but that's up to the clinician and professional to determine. And so what we want is clarity and validation for what we're going through. We're at 19,000 likes. As soon as we hit 20,000, we do go through the autism news of the day. So go ahead and put that in the be tapping on the screen so we can go through the autism news of the day. If I am missing your questions, I am so sorry. We got a lot of comments coming through, but keep those questions going. If you want to guarantee that I'll answer, you can hop on over to the YT platform and go onto my live stream there. Because I am watching comments over there, and we have not had a single comment come in. It's much slower over there. I don't really have many followers over there. And so if you want to guarantee that I'll read a question, go subscribe over there and type it in the chat, and I'll be sure to read those. We're at 20,000 likes. Let me go ahead and go through the autism news of the day. I made a video about this yesterday, but it is important enough that I'm going to bring this up right now. And if you see my last video, I'm going to ask all of you guys to go and repost it. We need to get the word out about this. Autism services are under attack in the United States. As a nation, during the past year, we have lost a decade of progress. Now, I do not comment on politics for the sake of politics. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. What I care about is that my children who are autistic have the best supports that they can have. And I am just observing a trend that terrifies me. That autism services are under attack in the United States. MetBet says it's ABA, though. It's not just ABA. It's all disability services are being cut. It is terrifying. ABA is one of those. But this isn't just about ABA. This is so much bigger. States are cutting caregiver compensation for parents who are taking care of profoundly autistic children. They're cutting provider rates, increasing wait lists. They're cutting contracts with providers. And every state is doing it differently. Now, why is this happening? Well, in an effort to cut out fraud, which I believe in. Audits are great. Cutting out fraud is great. But the big, beautiful bill, something that it did is it preemptively made Medicaid cuts and told the states to go out and find the fraud. Now, as states have gone to implement the changes of the Big Beautiful Bill, they have found, and this is just about every single state has some sort of cut they are making to disability services. Because as they've been going to try to make up for the loss in their revenue, their hands have been tied, and many have selected to cut disability services. Now, why am I bringing this up today as the autism news of the day? Well, it's because yesterday a very concerning announcement was made. The current administration put in a formal proposal to increase for the budget for the next fiscal year. Now, in this budget, they are looking at massive cuts across the entire budget and a massive increase in military spending. They announced a proposal to increase military spending from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. And how are they going to make up for that $500 billion increase? Well, what they're going to do is make a 12% cut to health and human services, including Medicaid and other services for people with disabilities. If you think that things have been getting hard for people with disabilities, it has not even started. I urge us, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, this is not about sides with politics. This is about caring for people with disabilities. And we need to advocate to make sure that our children who are autistic or disabled have the services that they need. Okay? Whoever you vote for, this is not a partisan issue. This is about autism and about trying to increase supports. And I thought that everyone should become aware of what was actually proposed and how that may impact your children. Someone says that they were interested until I started talking about politics. Well, guys, I know it's not fun to hear about this stuff. Again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I don't care. That's not what this platform is about. No matter who's in power with administration, I am going to talk about autism care and services and advocate for my children to have the best care possible. But a 12% cut to health and human services based on the cuts that we're already facing, this is detrimental to the autism community if this goes through. All right, everybody. Okay, you took the RADS-R test and got a 140. Okay, yes, so they should interpret that test for you. So the RADS is used to help screen for autism with adults. Thank you all for being here. I know, so with that stuff, I made a video yesterday about it. Again, it's not about who you voted for. I advocate the same way regardless of who's in political power. My focus is on autism and disability care. That is what I'm fighting for. And I do it at the state level every single day. I met with my state senator 2 weeks ago and was able to share concerns I had about how things were running in the state of Utah. And so this isn't about picking sides. It's about fighting for our disabled kids to have the care that they need, okay? All right, everybody. Go ahead and keep those questions coming in. We're going to go ahead and continue on with this live system today. Wait, so do I get diagnosed because I got a 140? No, that screener cannot diagnose autism. If you guys take an autism screener, it does not diagnose autism. Those screeners are one tool in the diagnostic process. What it can tell you if you should pursue being evaluated for autism. It is a complex thing to receive an autism diagnosis. They don't just hand them out. It's not something you can self-diagnose. It's not something even just your primary care physician can diagnose you with. They have to be specifically trained in autism diagnoses. So, Allie says, I will come back in a couple days to tell you about my daughter. She's 3 and she has an assessment on the 10th. Allie, that's exciting that you're doing great getting this diagnosis in early. Does early intervention do diagnosis? So most of the time, no. Early intervention in the United States. Okay, so the way that this works, the moment your child starts missing milestones, your pediatrician is going to refer you to early intervention. Now, each state has a set up to where they pay for a portion of that early intervention services, and based on your income, you contribute the remainder. And so it is a very free or cheap way of getting care, and typically they do physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy, and help catch your child up as they're a baby. This isn't just about autism. Now, most of the time they don't have psychologists on staff. I don't know of any states who do that, who diagnose for free as part of the early intervention. Maybe some companies that do early intervention also can diagnose, but that's usually run through your health insurance. And so don't wait for them to tell you to go and seek out a diagnosis. One of the biggest errors I see parents make is that they believe the system is going to just kind of take care of their child and that they don't have to think through what the next steps are. And that's not true. If you're in early intervention today, that doesn't mean that they're going to be looking out for autism and get your child diagnosed. Take the screener. If it comes back high likelihood for autism, you need to go and pursue a diagnosis. Is speech delay autism? No. Autism can include a speech delay, but speech delays do not always indicate autism. And sometimes there is no speech delay and someone is still autistic. But it is a common sign of autism is that there is a delay in communication. What causes autism? Okay, I'm going to share this with you guys again. I know this may sound controversial, and the moment that evidence suggests otherwise, I will continue to share this. Currently, we have a lot of knowledge on what factors into autism. This idea that we just have no idea and we're trying to find the one thing that causes it is garbage. There's not one thing that causes autism. We've identified hundreds of genes that contribute to autism. We have pinpointed autism down to being 80 to 90% genetic. I can break down how we know that. And the remaining 10 to 20% are environmental factors the mother experiences during pregnancy, not things that happen after a child is born. So no, it's not the food that your child eats. It's not their screen time. It's not their vaccines. It is the way the brain developed in utero based on their genetics as well as the environmental conditions that the mother was exposed to, nothing within her control. The big thing here is if you have a child with autism, you did not cause this. This is not your fault. And you did the right thing by getting them evaluated and diagnosed. Why do people claim vaccines are triggering autism? I have a good answer for this, and I'm actually very understanding of it. Okay, and I think this is good for all of us to believe because it sounds so wild. Like, why would people claim this without evidence? Let me explain it. So, we have with autism a lot of people who are autistic. They regress. The parents didn't notice any signs of autism. And then around 18 to 24 months, the parents see a shift in behavior. The child is losing language that they once had. They stop making eye contact. They stop responding to their name. And they look to what happened around that same time. That is the normal thing for our human brains to do. It doesn't make them unintelligent. It makes them loving and trying to find an answer. And when you take a step back and you look at the studies, when you look at these regressions, the regressions happen equally whether someone's vaccinated or not. But for a parent who could swear that their experience was their child was vaccinated and then they regressed, that is very real to them. And the data overall does not support that vaccines cause autism. But to that parent, it does feel real. And so I want us to be loving to people who experience this because they're not making this up. But it's just not supported by any evidence or correlational evidence that vaccines are contributed to it. In fact, let me tell you some interesting data. There are research studies that have looked at regression and not just retroactively. The problem with a lot of this is your child regresses and then you're retroactively looking and saying, yes, it must be the vaccines. But what if You tracked children from birth, tracked their developmental milestones, and actually measured what the regression looked like. Well, people have done that. There are studies out there that have done that. And they have found in almost all cases, in children who regress, there were developmental differences since birth. Sometimes it's so slight that the parents don't notice it, but those developmental differences were there. They were neurodivergent since birth, but it wasn't noticeable until the regression occurred. That is what the evidence shows. Now, the parents who don't notice it until after the vaccines, they're not bad parents. They weren't supposed to catch it. It was very subtle. That was only caught with very sensitive measurement tools in these studies. So, no, vaccines do not cause autism, but I don't yell at parents who think they do, because I know what it's like to have a child who regresses, and it is terrifying. Let me tell you what regression is, okay? And I think when people ask what is autism, this is a good way to look at what autism is, okay? Right now, I'm wondering, are you thinking about the glasses that are on your face? Could you feel it? Could you feel the socks that are on your feet? Could you feel the watch that's around your wrist? Did you notice the tag on the back of your shirt? Were you thinking about that? Most of you would answer no, that I'm thinking about one thing at a time, right? That your brain is able to filter all the irrelevant things out and focus on just what's happening. Now, why does the brain do this? It's a phenomenon called pruning. That as a baby, you start building so many synaptic connections in your brain. Everything is so loud. You are hearing, smelling, seeing everything at once. And as a baby develops, they start pruning. Their brain is pruning. And what that means is it's filtering out these irrelevant connections. And so the baby starts focusing on mom and focusing when someone calls their name and focusing just on the thing that's most important. And their brain disregards the other irrelevant things going on around them. And so that is called pruning. And we have found people with autism prune differently. Many people with autism, their brains prune differently. And part of that is they may not prune enough. And what ends up happening is that all those connections are still going on. So the world literally feels louder for people who are autistic because their brain is hearing and feeling everything at once. A lot of people feel that. But pruning, they prune differently, not just in not pruning enough, but sometimes regression happens. And the leading theory right now for why regression happens has to do with pruning. That some of those connections that were relevant are pruned. Now, typically within just a few months, children who regress do catch up to where they were. This, in the vast majority of times, is not a lifelong regression. It is a slip backwards, and then their brain begins to make the correct connections. Now, some people that's not the case, and the regression is a lot longer, and they're delayed. So, all right, we do have some comments over on the YT platform. Let me go ahead and read those. I took tests on a website that was recommended to me in an autistic subreddit. The scores were high, but I don't know how credible they are. Okay, I'm wondering what the tests were. Yeah, you can't diagnose yourself, but you've looked at the DSM-5 criteria. What are the pros and cons of getting a diagnosis? Okay, wow, the RADS-R score of 182, AQ 33, CATQ score. Okay, yes, those are reputable surveys, Austin. Okay, so if you suspect you're autistic and you're an adult, why in the world would you need a diagnosis? Well, let me tell you. First of all, I'm not mad if you don't want a diagnosis. Okay, if you decide that's not for you, that's fine. But what will it actually get you? Well, there's two things. One is validation. You have lived your entire life where it's 10 times harder to make a friend, where you don't understand all the norms going on right now, where you don't understand the unspoken rules that exist in the society. It's as if you are participating in a play. Everyone else has a script except for you, and you're not sure what you're supposed to be saying and when your lines are. And having that diagnosis gives you the validation and understanding and clarity for yourself. The second is you likely should have a therapist. And if you have an autism diagnosis, you're going to want to align the therapist with their skills with what you have going on. If you're autistic, you're going to want a therapist who specializes in autism. Those are my main reasons. All right, if you're new here, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Kylan Heiner. I live in Utah. I am the father of 2 beautiful children who are autistic and 2 neurotypical children. I have 4 kids, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. I've been working with people who are autistic since 2013, and I'm the CEO of a company that provides services to people with autism in the state of Utah, and I go live on a daily basis. And so if this says follow, that means you're going to miss next time I go live. So tap that button. You won't leave this page. It'll keep you here. You can tap that button and see me next time I go live. We go live every day because I want what's best for people with autism. We go live every day because I need a village. This stuff is hard. If you're autistic or you have a child who's autistic, this is hard stuff. You need the support. I need the support. That's why we're here. And I am so sick of misinformation being spread around and making you feel like you're not doing enough. Autism parents, I need you to hear something right now. You're doing enough. You are doing enough. You are paying attention to your child 24/7. You're not able to settle down. There are studies that show that your stress that is on your mind and your body compares to that of those who are in war. And a lot of times there's not an end. You are going through it. And people who try to take your money, giving you false hope of a cure or treatments that are not validated or supported by research, that causes me anger. I am very protective of the autism parents in this community. I'm protective over your time. I'm protected over your money. There's a very real phenomenon of a disability tax. That if you're married, you likely are not, one of you is not able to work because they're a full-time caregiver. You lose out on income earning. The therapies are expensive. This takes away your money. It takes away your time, and we need to address the misinformation that is attacking those things of yours. What about stem cell therapy? Okay, let me address that. So stem cell therapy has strong theory behind it. Okay, I love the theory. There's actually some evidence of variations of the stem cell therapy that's different than what's actually being done that has been shown to reverse autism symptoms in rats. And so that's exciting. But when you extend it to the human population, the evidence has been very mixed. There's a reason that FDA has not approved it in the United States and why insurance doesn't pay for it. If there was something that significantly supported autism that only cost $15,000, insurance would be all over that instead of paying a lifelong supports and services for people with autism. And so, stem cell therapy is not something that is recommended. It takes a lot of resources. It's still something being studied. And so if you want to, if you've read about it and you're like, this is something I have to try, I urge you, don't just go spend money and do it out of the country. I want you to go and find a clinical trial that is being done and ask to participate so you can expand the research in this. But if you're going out of the country and you're spending $20,000, I'd much rather use that money somewhere else. Let me ask you guys this. What would you spend $20,000 on right now that would support you as an autistic person or support your autistic child? What would you spend $20,000 on right now to make your life better? I want to know. What would you spend it on? Because I tell you what, I would not spend it on a therapy with mixed evidence. That's not what I would spend it on. Trains, okay. ABA therapy. Okay, yeah, there are therapies that can be very beneficial. A sensory park, I love that. Look, I would, fencing my yard. Oh my gosh, guys. If you're deciding between building a backyard or doing stem cell therapy, build the backyard. Get a fence in place so your kid can go out and play safely. Go put a trampoline in. Go build a sensory gym in your garage. Or you know what? If you don't have space, use that 20 grand to get into a place that's a little nicer for your kid. That is going to support your child more than going and doing stem cell therapy right now, according to the mixed evidence in the research. Now, if that changes, as soon as it does, I'll be the first to talk about it. Okay? 100% build a fence. My son would never decompress if he couldn't play outside. Yeah, guys, that is going to support your child so much. Thank you so much for the hat and mustache. That means the world. Thank you so much. Down payment for a house so she can have a backyard. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. Just so you guys know, I am over on the YT platform as well, and the chat goes a lot slower. And so if I'm missing your questions, go ahead and hop on over there, put it there. I do read those questions there. How do you feel about ABA therapy? Lakeisha, thank you for the hand hearts. Guys, I don't receive a ton of gifts on these lives, but when you do, that means the world to me, that you're supporting me. That does tell TikTok that this is a valued live, and it pushes it to more people. So thank you so much. That really does mean a lot. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. What other questions do we have over here? ABA therapy for adults. Hey, you know what? For those with higher support needs, ABA therapy can be incredible. I don't have much research on ABA therapy for those who require little to no support, have little to no support needs. But ABA therapy is incredible. When we talk about services for people with autism, we're talking about part 3 on the autism journey. Now, if you don't know the parts, go right now and download the free ebook. It is 100% free. It breaks down these 5 parts. But the third part of this autism journey is building your care team. You don't have to be the expert. You don't have to know everything about autism. There are people that have dedicated their lives to one particular study in science. A speech therapist that has gone to 6 years of school and has, the supervised experience and knowledge and expertise. That is someone that you're going to want in your corner. And so what are those 4 therapies that I recommend that you consider having a specialist from? One is ABA therapy. Lane, that Mystic drink is amazing. Thank you so much. Again, guys, these gifts, whatever you guys can do, it really does tell TikTok to send it out to more people. I value it. I appreciate it. I'm humbled by it. Thank you. And so ABA therapy is one of those, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and mental health therapy. Lane, thank you. Thank you so much. Those are the 4 therapies that you should consider getting your child in. That doesn't mean you have to do all of that. Sandra, thank you. And Lane for the crown. Oh my gosh. Infinity. Guys, I am blown away by the variety of people that are sending gifts right now. It's something I haven't seen before. Wow. Thank you. So if you're considering therapies, those 4 are a great starting place. There's others that aren't considered frontline therapies that can be good, but only if those others aren't available or you've graduated from those. Things like music therapy, equine therapy, things like that can actually be pretty beneficial. Thank you for the wink, wink, the goat, the squirrel. Guys, that means the world. Thank you so much. Thoughts on ABA or OT for autism? One with ADHD. I've heard ABA is intense. Worried about kiddo burnout. Okay, so ABA therapy is intense in the amount of hours that you're doing, but your child is likely going to absolutely love it. Okay? My son is at ABA therapy at this very moment, and he begs every day to go. It's at a clinic. They have a ball pit, and he just says, ball pit, and he wants to go to the ball pit every day. Some days he has to do school, but yeah. And so it feels like play to the kids if they're doing it right. And so I really like oh my gosh, Fluffy with the hand heart. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really like the interdisciplinary approach. And it breaks my heart when I see a behavior analyst bash on occupational therapy or an SLP bash on behavior analysis, when as a parent, I don't care about your turf wars. Each of these are evidence-based sciences that support our children. You are an expert. And as a parent, what I want is an interdisciplinary team of experts who can get along with each other, work well together, and have my child's best interest in mind. That's what I look for. And so if you're a professional and you're in here, keep that in mind. Like, work well with these other professionals. I am curious, who do we have in here? Put one in the chat if you're an autism parent or you suspect your child's autistic. Put 2 in the chat thank you, Lakeisha. Put 2 in the chat if you are autistic or suspect you're autistic. Put 3 in the chat if you are a professional or just interested in learning here. 1, 2, or 3. Go ahead and put it in the chat. Let's see who we have in here. We got a lot of wonderful people, you guys. Thank you all for being here. It really does mean the world. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, you guys. I woke up with a cold, but we're here. We're here. Thank you all for being here. A little bit of an introduction about myself. I am a BCBA, and so I did ABA therapy for a long time. I now run a company that does autism services. I'm an autism dad, though. And a lot of my passion and advocacy comes from my experience of being a father of a child with autism. Now, I want to say it's important that we listen to people who are autistic, and we also listen to people who have children who are autistic. Those two groups of people experience things that we will never understand unless you've been through it. So listening to those voices is so important. You are missing us grandparents that are with these kids. Yes. Okay. So if you're a grandparent, yeah, I should have a number by itself. Thank you for being a grandparent here. Maybe I should expand it to just a family member because I get autism siblings in here too. Autism siblings are incredible. All right, you guys. What other questions do we have? Oh, let me do another quick little thing. Just today, this is a big announcement that I said earlier. Just today, we officially dropped our ebook. That's 100% free. And why did I do this? Well, I think it's important that as we talk about the autism journey, we keep it simple. It is overwhelming to be a parent of a child with autism. If you suspect your child's autistic or if they are autistic, you go and you download that free ebook. It'll email you and it might go to your junk folder. It went to mine when I tested it. But this is something that I've been spending months on working, and it's from years of my experience, insight, and hundreds of hours of discussions with autism parents. So check it out, you guys. Go ahead and continue on with the questions. My son's BCBA has recommended he continue full-time ABA through age 7. Is that unusual to you? What's unusual is to preemptively say how long they're going to need it. That is unusual. As a behavior analyst, we usually take it 6 months at a time. You don't need to say, hey, in 5 years, they're still going to need ABA therapy. And maybe that's next year for you. I don't know. But it's not dictated by how old they are. It is on if they're, 1, do they still need to progress? And 2, are they still progressing with the therapy? So if they're 4 and they're no longer benefiting from it, no, they don't need to continue on. You stop as soon as they're not benefiting or they don't need it anymore. All right, you guys. Continue on with these questions, you guys. Put them in the chat here. Really good stuff, you guys. I appreciate all these questions. We got some of the best people on these lives. Oh, thank you, Lane. Thank you, Lane. Right now, there's nothing I'm selling. It's just go and download your free ebook. How is my grandson good at school, but is loner at home, screaming and crying moment? Okay, Poopsie, that's a good question. If you have a child who's autistic, you may see that they excel in some aspects of their life and yet really struggle in other aspects. And so something that I see quite often is that your child may do really well with spelling, with letters, with numbers and math, and yet they don't have friends, or they get bullied, or they don't understand the social norms, or at home they have meltdowns, and that's very common. And so what the idea is that at school they're supporting the places that they're struggling with, and try to build them up. And so they call it hyperlexia. If your child is hyperlexic, put yes in the chat. Hyperlexic refers to unusually skilled with numbers or letters or reading. Put yes in the chat if your child or if you are hyperlexic. For example, my son knew his entire alphabet before he ever responded to his name. In fact, he knew his whole alphabet before he said his first word, which was butterfly. And so his communication was always low, but he could count and he knew his letters. And there's something about the pattern and the consistency with those things that tended to click for him, while some of the other social aspects did not. And so that's called hyperlexia. Can screens cause developmental delays? Yeah, screens can. Overuse of screens can cause social developmental delays. That is pretty backed by the science. Now, just keep in mind, that doesn't mean it causes autism. It absolutely cannot cause autism. It is one of those things that I don't believe for my children that it's best to restrict their screen time by saying how many hours a day they can do it. I believe in a natural restriction by filling their day with more productive and good things for them to be doing. That way, there's never this feeling of not having the screen when they really want it. Okay, what's the difference between masking and personal growth? Okay, so masking, it is not, I think sometimes unmasking is personal growth. Personal growth, just as a general term, that means becoming the best version of yourself that you can be. Masking refers to hiding autistic traits. And so, maybe looking at someone in their eyes makes you uncomfortable. Society used to tell you, you have to do it. You have to look at someone in their eyes or else they're going to think you're weird. Well, guess what? Unmasking means I don't care if people think I look a little weird. It's not comfortable to me, and it makes me feel more regulated and safe to do what I want to do. Playing with a little fidget toy makes me feel regulated and safe. And I'm not going to hide that. I'm going to embrace that and continue doing that. And so sometimes personal development is finding better or good ways to stim. Can a child with autism be very social? Absolutely. Yes. My son has become extremely social, but there are still some very big social deficits. It's not always a lack of desire for socialization. Sometimes it's there's some sort of a skill deficit there. Was wondering if nutrition matters as a friend is concerned of kids eating sugary foods, cereals, cookies. Okay, Mira, let me tell you this. There are common concerns with diet and autism. And one of the first things parents do, their child is autistic, they read something online about how cutting out gluten and sugar caused their child to be cured, to reverse their autism symptoms. Some of the first things that they end up doing is changing diet. I want to urge you caution. What you are trying to do by modifying diet is the absolute hardest intervention without any evidence of clear benefit to autism traits. Now, nutrition is important, but it's important for every child. There is no diet, there is no medication, there is no supplement that is recommended by default if your child is autistic. And the evidence behind it is lacking, that it provides any kind of relief to autism traits. Now, this is different than GI issues, okay? Sometimes people who are autistic are far more likely to have gut problems. We don't know exactly why that is. One convincing belief is that people who are autistic also have restricted eating habits, which can cause gut health problems. But the gut health is not causing the autism. The gut health may cause them to be uncomfortable, and that should be addressed. You should address gut health and nutrition and getting your child to not be constipated. Maybe they need Miralax. Maybe they need more fiber. But that's something that you work out with your pediatrician. If you are worried about your child's gut health and your solution is to go on to a website and buy a bunch of detox supplements, you're not approaching it the right way. You're being sold to. You're being sold to by predatory marketing, taking advantage of your fear and your desire to do what's best for your child. They are selling to you and taking advantage of your fear and giving you false hope. Go to your pediatrician. If you're concerned about gut health, go to your pediatrician. That's all there is to it. Why is it so much more common now than ever before, especially after COVID? So Daria, that is a good question. Why is there an increase in autism? Well, let me tell you. The diagnostic criteria literally changed, making the net massive. And so they say 1 in 31 kids are autistic, but in 2000, only 1 in 150 kids were autistic. Well, what they don't tell you when they give you that statistic is back in 2000, the only people who could receive an autism diagnosis were those most profoundly impacted, not those who fell on the outskirts of the spectrum. And what ended up happening was in 2013, they literally changed the diagnostic criteria to make it the full spectrum with level 1, level 2, level 3. That included and lumped in Asperger's. And so absolutely we are seeing an increase in diagnoses because you have all these people who were born before the year 2013. Probably every single person, or 90% of the people in this chat, were born before 2013. And if they're autistic, they were missed because they were not included in the previous diagnostic criteria. There is also very much truth to girls being underdiagnosed. I believe autism is still underdiagnosed. That's a bold statement. Let me tell you why I think that, though. Right now, boys, 1 in 20 boys are diagnosed with autism, and 1 in 70 girls are diagnosed with autism. Boys are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism without a clear understanding of biological components that would differentiate that. What we do know, and there is studies that show that girls tend to mask earlier, and so they're missed. And so that 1 in 31, get ready, because it's going to get even lower than that. It probably is going to be somewhere around 1 in 25 is my guess, but that's just an opinion. But girls tend to mask earlier, and it's not necessarily something biological. That can very much be explained through societal expectations on girls versus boys, allowing boys to be stimming and to be bouncing off the walls, and then we can see the autism more visibly. Whereas girls are told to sit still, to be pretty, to be nice, and to stop being weird. And those, like, you're ignorant if you believe that the societal expectations are even on boys and girls. I believe our food supply has something to do with autism. I think there are huge concerns with food supply and with harmful things in the food, with preservatives and with amounts of sugar. And there's some huge nutritional concerns, absolutely. Now, there is no evidence to suggest that is impacting autism. In fact, all of the we know autism is largely genetic. The environmental conditions we do know are entirely during pregnancy or at the time of birth. It's the diet. Kids are not eating well, and so are the mothers. I just went over this. It has nothing to do with diet. That has not been shown at all. They found genes responsible for autism. Yep. There are hundreds of genes. Autism is polygenic, you guys. All right. I want to vent. Here is a post on YT platform. I have to vent. Who's going to tell Tyson to stop switching the packaging on the baked chicken nuggets? I have to do the most to have my daughter eat them again since they're her favorite. Don't they know they're causing problems by changing the packaging and changing the routine of our children? My son had a drink out of a new cup yesterday, and he resisted for the longest time. He kept trying to give it to his sister, but he finally took it. That changing to the changes and adjusting, that's a real thing that they struggle with. We changed out our rugs the other day, and my autistic son, he lost it. He was not happy with the change. Does stimming also have to do with gut health? How to go about that? Le Petit, let me tell you what to do about stimming. So if your kid is flapping their hands all the time, okay, here's very specifically what I want you to do. I want you to go over to him, and I want you to say, I love you, kid. Keep being yourself. That's what I want you to do, okay? It's okay to stim, you guys. Unless they're hurting themselves, it's okay to stim. It's okay to stim. I know it looks odd. I know you're not used to it. I know it can give away that they may be autistic, but it makes them happy, makes them regulated. Sandra, thank you over on the YT platform. You have beautiful little boys. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I work with adults with developmental disabilities, and I just love how excited they get. Renee, I got to tell you, I love people with disabilities. I really do. They're beautiful. They're perfect. They're amazing. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your work with them. What if one kid stimming overstimulates my other kid? Okay, well, you have two options. You can help them find a better way to stim that isn't interfering with the child and help reinforce that. As long as you're not having them mask, or you can help the other child cope with it. I hear parents who say, I'm overstimulated by the stimming. And then we talk to the parents about, maybe you need some headphones. That's what we do in my house is when our kids are stimming, we might need to put on some headphones. My sister has 3 kids on the spectrum and 2 of them are nonverbal. Tracy, thank you for being here. Your nephews are autistic. And here you are as an aunt providing support. Tracy, I'm not going to minimize this because this is a big deal. You're an aunt and you're sitting here in an Autism Live learning about autism when you're not autistic. You don't have children who are autistic. Your nephews are autistic. And here you are being part of their village to understand them. You guys, put hearts in the chat for Tracy. We all need a Tracy in our life. We need a village, you guys. We need Tracy in our life, a family member who goes out of their way to sit on a TikTok live to learn about autism, to be a better aunt, to learn how to support. Honestly, everyone needs a Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, for being here. What do you think will help with speech delay? Okay, I have some thoughts on this. If your child is not communicating, they're struggling to speak and to communicate, what's available to you? Well, the very first thing is you need clarity. What is going on? Why is there a speech delay? Is it autism? If your child is autistic, then that opens the door to additional services. If they're not autistic, it might just be speech therapy that you can be eligible for. But as early as possible, I want you to surround yourself with experts. You need to surround yourself with experts. You don't need to do this alone. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to surround yourself with people that have gone to school for years, who have a decade of experience, and who can support you in doing what you need to do as a mom to support your child. And so what I recommend is if your child is autistic, you are going to want to start with speech therapy, with occupational therapy, and with ABA therapy. And get good teams who are willing to work together. It's a good question to ask an ABA company. If you want to know what makes a good ABA company or a good speech therapist, ask them their thoughts on one of the other specialties. Say, hey, we're considering occupational therapy. What do you think about that? And hear their response. And if they have negative things to say, you don't want to work with them. We want to work with professionals who are collaborative, who work well together, who understand that autism, that they don't own part of autism, that they are one part of a person's team. Oh, Amanda, that's a good thing. Ask ABA centers if they prioritize assent. Yeah. Let me tell you the real number one for ABA companies. I'm going to tell you the number one thing to ask an ABA company. you're considering ABA therapy for your child, what I want you to do is I want you to ask this ABA company how they supervise their behavior technicians. How often is the behavior analyst in person? Because the model of ABA, it concerns a lot of people for a good reason, because the people who are actually doing the hours of therapy each week with your child, they likely just graduated from high school. They have 40 hours of training. That's it. They're not the expert. But the model is that the clinician is able to supervise those technicians and train them to work with your child. And so it doesn't matter who that technician is. They're going to come and go. But what does matter is that those behavior analysts are there in person as much as possible, hands-on training that technician. Can I tell you what I've seen before? I have seen behavior analysts who supervise through an iPad, and they say nothing during a 6-hour shift. All they're doing is sitting on an iPad and letting the technician do whatever they're doing, not giving any instruction, not telling them to try new things, not teaching them, not coaching them. That is a concern. So the number one thing that's going to indicate that your child is going to have success through ABA is if the behavior analyst, the actual clinician who's board certified and knows what they're doing, is training and supporting the technician. Sometimes virtual supervision is a joke. I'm not a fan of it. In some situations, it's necessary. It has been a godsend in many situations where a child is in a remote area. That is powerful. BCBA sending nothing but love here. Love it, Amanda. Love it. For those remote areas, I think it's great. It's better than nothing, but it takes a certain type of person to be able to do it well. The concerning thing, though, is I'm on a lot of pages of people trying to hire BCBAs and a lot of BCBAs looking for jobs. And there's a trend right now. Everyone wants to go remote. Everyone wants to just do remote supervision. It is growing in popularity, and it's concerning. So prioritize that. Make sure they know you want your BCBA there in person as much as possible. Bo says, does it come from vaccines? Nope, doesn't come from vaccines. That's why I love my son's clinic, because the BCBA is there all day and supervising RBTs. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that. What's your position about leucovorin with speech delay? Guys, I am optimistic about leucovorin. I'm excited about the prospect. It's not ready yet, though. It's been being studied for a while now. It was made popular, though, about 7 months ago, before it was ready. And in fact, after they started pushing it more, a study was retracted, one of the main studies showing progress. Now, the 4 remaining randomized clinical trials have mixed reviews and findings. And so it is not one of those things that's recommended at this time. It's one of those things that's recommended to test for. There are risks with using it. Leucovorin, or folinic acid, will there's a chance of it causing increased aggression and agitation in your child. There's a chance of it increasing anxiety. We're still learning about dosing. We're still learning about, does it actually make a difference, have an impact? And I'm not mad at parents who are trying it. This is not the same. Okay, if you've been here a while, you've heard me talk about how upset I am about like fraudulent therapies, not fraudulent, but like pseudoscientific therapies, maybe spelling to communicate or detox protocols and things like that. Leucovorin is not on the same field as those. Leucovorin does have some scientific backing behind it, and it is heavily being studied right now. And I am optimistic that we are going to better understand how to use it and how it'll help. It's not there yet, though. So my children aren't using leucovorin. Hello, everybody. Hello. How often are adults getting diagnosed? Adults are getting diagnosed every day. It is so common right now because so many people were missed as kids. And people want answers. People want clarity. And so, yeah. Isn't autism someone who lacks social awareness and skills? Haley, good question. So a good way to look at autism is that there's 2 categories of things that are impacted. One is social. And so this could mean they don't communicate well. Maybe they don't pick up on all the social cues, social norms. They may have troubles with relationships. And so one part is social. The other part has to do with their sensory needs and repetitive behaviors. And so they may be hypersensitive or hyposensitive to sensory input, meaning, you see kids with headphones on. It's not just because they don't want to socialize. They're wearing those headphones because the world feels louder. They are hearing and feeling everything at once. And that is very common. There's other people who feel less. They may have a lower pain tolerance. My daughter is that way, who's autistic. She's hyposensitive. And so there are concerns with sensory inputs. A lot of that can lead to things like stimming and repetitive behaviors. So those are kind of the two categories, and there's very rigid rules. You can't self-diagnose autism. You have to go to a psychologist. There's a long wait list usually. It's a full process. If you are in the state of Utah, I do know a lot of resources. And so feel free. Anyone from Utah can DM me if you have questions about where to get diagnosed, where to get different services. I'm well connected here in Utah, and it's not always the company that I run that is best for you, that I recommend. Like I can hear where you're at, and I can point you in the direction of where it's going to support you. Alabama, you guys are running through some hard times, Mama Lewis. Alabama, I just heard of wait lists now moving to indefinite wait lists because of Medicaid cutting ties with different providers. So I am so sorry about that. Which states are best for individuals with autism? That's a hard thing to say. Right now, just about every single state is attacking services for people with autism. I know you don't want to hear that, but every single state is looking at cuts. And with the proposed budget that came out yesterday, I am concerned of what those cuts are going to look like. Again, this is not a political live, you guys. I don't care who you vote for. What I do care is that if you are here and you have someone that you care about who's autistic, we need to advocate at the local and federal level in the United States for increased care for people with disabilities. It's scary times for us in the UK with a lot of changes to their education plans. Yes, Carly. And they suspended even putting people on the wait list for autism diagnosis in some areas in the UK right now. It's scary. Anything that helps with sensory issues. Yes, there's a lot. You'd have to break down a little bit of what you're seeing. A lot of them are, one, you need to allow them to be safe and comfortable. If their sensory issues make it so they only have 3 safe foods, well, we're going to always allow their 3 safe foods to be available while we work on making them comfortable with more. If their sensory needs make them want to flap their hands, well, by golly, they're allowed to flap their hands. And we embrace it, we support them, and we love them. If the world feels too loud, we're going to try to quiet the world for them. I hear all the time, would you cure your child with autism? And my response to that is always no. First of all, there is no cure. It's not something to be cured. It's not something that can be reversed. Autism is something that needs to be loved, accepted, and, this is key, supported. What I wish is that we could cure the world's harshness to people with autism, the world's judgments. I would make it so the world is more accepting and accommodating. That's why I've rented out movie theaters, you guys, multiple times and made it designated for people with autism only and free tickets. Okay, I've done that. I've gone and said, hey, anyone in this community, if you're a family, you've never been to the movies and your kid's autistic, come to the movies for free. And this is a safe place where your kid can get up, can stim, can run around. We're going to have the lights slightly dimmed and be safe. We're going to create spaces where your children are allowed to exist because there's not enough of those spaces. We need more of those spaces. I realized only now what I do is stimming, which I didn't know was. Oh, interesting. I wonder what it is. All right, you guys. Let me break down some information for everybody. If you are wondering if you're autistic, if you're wondering your child is autistic, I got free screeners in my bio. Check those out. They're validated. They're real screeners. They'll give you results of if you should go and pursue getting evaluated. I have a free ebook in my bio. that breaks down the parts of the autism journey. I'm not selling anything. I got nothing for sale in my bio right now. I do this simply because I got a passion to advocate right now. And I'm fairly new to TikTok. I've been doing this since I think January 3rd or something like that. And so just 3 months or so. And I feel all of your love and support, and I'm grateful for all of you guys being part of this village. We also have a Facebook group and a Discord chat linked to my bio that you can continue this discussion after we're gone. Are you in a full suit or do you have pajama pants on? That's a good question. I don't have pajama pants on, but I will tell you, guys, can I be honest with you? I ran a study. I wish I could show it right here. But what I did is I alternated days that I wore a suit versus just a polo shirt. And I found that my viewership doubled on days where I was wearing a suit. And before, it would be occasional that, I'd wear a tie or I'd wear a blazer. But I do, based on that data, I wear a suit every single day now. And I just have it sitting in here and I put it on just for this. And then I take it off when I leave. And so sorry to disrupt your illusion, but or my illusion, I guess. Hopefully I didn't ruin myself here by saying this. But I took data, you guys. Hannah, you hum while you're working. Oh, is that your stimming? Okay, yeah. How do I manage food aversion? My 6-year-old grandchild is getting worse. Bonnie, I want to talk to you directly, Bonnie, because, and I'm not calling you out. I don't know that you do this, but a lot of people who are helping their grandchildren, they address the feeding aversions in very inappropriate and ineffective ways, and in fact, harmful ways. What do? Well, they will tell their child that they need to eat what is on the table or go to bed hungry. What ends up happening when you do that is your child will go to bed hungry. If they're autistic and they have sensory needs and maybe they have ARFID or very highly restricted eating, they're going to go to bed hungry. I talk to people on the regular where their child had to be put in a G tube because they refused to eat so often. And now the parents have to directly inject the nutrients into the child's stomach. So my recommendation to you is identify what are the safe foods. And those safe foods need to always be available. If they only have 3 things, if all they can eat is chicken nuggets, pizza, and French fries, well, your freezer better be full of those things. Because we're going to put their safe foods first. Okay? That is number 1. You make their safe food. Number 2, your kid is fed. I want you to get in touch with professionals who can create a custom plan for your child. Now, who do you go to for feeding therapy? This is one of those examples where ABA therapy typically doesn't stand out. For my child, I would not go to an ABA therapist to have them help him with his feeding. I would go to an occupational therapist or a speech therapist who are highly trained in feeding therapy. Good question, Holly. How do I get my grandson to eat more foods besides the ones he will eat? I'm going to get there. So this step is, first, you get the professionals to work with you and create a plan. Now, what they're going to do is likely going to sound like this. And this is to answer your question, Holly. They're likely going to advise you that what you want to do is start with the safe foods and then slowly just make sure that you start incorporating the other foods near him, right? Maybe it's an apple slice that you put near his plate every day. And then slowly it's going to be on his plate, but not touching his food. And then we're going to ask him to just touch the apple. Then we're going to ask him to pick up the apple. He doesn't have to eat it. No rush. Just pick it up, put it down. That's all you got to do. Then I want you to pick it up and I want you to hold it a little closer to your face. And then I want you to smell it. And then I want you to kiss it. And then maybe we can get him to lick it. And so that is how you do it. And it is a long process. We're talking over a couple of years. You may go from 3 safe foods to 8 safe foods. And that is what success may look like. But it's a slow process. It is a careful process, an intentional process. We buy safe foods in bulk. They rotate often. Yeah. So don't feel like you have to be stuck with those safe foods, but use those safe foods as a starting place. A huge success story with this is that we've been doing this with my son. We've been putting, apples nearby, and we put them on his plate the other day. And without even asking him, I walked in and he had an apple in his mouth for his first time. He's 3.5 years old, you guys. He's never had an apple. And he ate an apple for the first time a couple days ago. It can happen. You just have to make sure that they're not feeling stress and anxiety around it. You're not starving them. They have their safe foods, and you're giving them the opportunities, and being very careful and intentional about that. Candy said he licked the chicken. I was so happy. Candy, that's what I'm talking about, you guys. Celebrations. That is amazing. Guys, let's do some celebrations, just general celebrations about your kids, or about you. If you're autistic, or if your child's autistic, or your grandchild, or your nephew, whoever it is, give me some celebrations in the chat. What's going on right now with your child who's autistic? Put it in the chat. What are some celebrations that you have? I want to hear about it. I'll tell you some. Yesterday, my son got to see the Easter Bunny, and he was not scared, and he ran up and was playing with the Easter Bunny. I thought he'd be terrified, but he loved it, and it was a new experience for him that he loved. So that's my celebration. My son used his AAC device independently this week. Ronnie, I love it. Wow, powerful. My 7-year-old is finally learning full sentences. My oldest 5 is so smart. My child ate cheese pizza. Ashley, that is victory. I have a lot of grands all day while parents work, so we have a variety of food around. If he wants something, we let him try. Perfect, Lala. Yes, you got to have it around for him to try. Most of them love puppets. My grandson just decided to eat meat other than chicken 2 years ago, and he's 11. I love that. My grandson ate chicken instead of nuggets. Oh, I love that. My son asked for milk and toast today. Beautiful, beautiful. My grandson is beginning to talk about his day with me. Oh, I can't wait for that to happen. My son's not there yet. It took 6 months to get one of my twins to accept purees. Age 1, now 2, will accept some mashed. Wonderful, wonderful. That's good progress. Okay, how to find a speech therapist aside school. Okay, so there are multiple ways to be able to find professionals to work with. Eventually, my vision for what I'm doing here is I want to be able to point people in the right direction. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into what I'm going to be doing. What I'm going to do is I'm building a tool right now that's going to help you know how to balance speech therapy, occupational therapy, mental health therapy, and ABA therapy, and give you some documented, validated evidence or recommendations on what you need to prioritize right now with your kid or with you. Then I'm going to be auditing and identifying the best providers without long wait lists across the United States. And that way, the moment you identify what services may be beneficial to you, it can connect you with professionals in your area that I have vetted, that I recommend, that I say are neuroaffirming, that I say live up to the standards that I speak about. That is what I'm building right now. And so when you ask, what am I going to do? How do I find speech therapy? Right now, you're just going to have to look around and Google speech therapy in your area and call around so you can help. Insurance will pay for it. And so, or should, you need to have the speech therapist kind of make sure and verify that. But school is separate from medical speech therapy. Can gluten-free help? No. There's no documented evidence that gluten-free addresses autism traits. My daughter only eats McDonald's. Oh no, same food every time, only eats now and again. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, a lot of our kids have these rigid eating habits. And so, you got to be cautious and give them their safe foods and then expand from there. It's a slow process. It's not rushing. Insurance pays for speech therapy. Event story. Insurance should pay for speech therapy, occupational therapy, ABA therapy, and mental health therapy. All right, you guys, guess what? It is the end of our live stream today. I usually go a little bit longer, but I have some family stuff going on today. It's a little bit shorter today. But if you are new here, make sure that you tap the follow button because I go live every single day. You're not going to want to miss it. Tomorrow is Sunday, and I usually go live a little bit later tomorrow. I'm unsure on the time. It might be around noon Eastern time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's noon in Utah where I am. And make sure you're following so that you can see when I go live. And everyone have a wonderful day. Also, if you weren't here when I announced it, my ebook has been released. It is amazing. It has been months in progress. And reading that will catch you up on, will give you more direct information than if you would have listened to my live for 20 hours. And so it's only 30 pages and breaks it down into the 5 parts of the autism journey if you're an autism parent. 100% free. Go get it. Just released today, and it's in my bio. So everyone, thank you all. Thank you, my village. Love you guys. Thank you for being here, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.